create that relationship, create the teacher-student bond. Because if you have that bond, nothing can ever break it. And then that trust to say, oh, this child actually trusts me enough to accept everything being put out. Are they motivated enough?
Hello, welcome to another episode of Conversations with AMA. My name is Michael-Ayeni. I am your host on this show. Today, I will be talking to an EYFS practitioner who happens to have long years of experience and is also an early years lead in her setting. We will be talking about the positive relationships, which is the second principle of EYFS. I hope that you will enjoy and learn from this episode as much as I am looking forward to learning and sharing with you all that we have put together. I can't wait for you to hear from our guests. Enjoy. So, hello, Miss Jenny. Welcome to Conversations with AMA. So nice to have you here.
Same here. I'm very honored to be here as well. Thank you for having me.
Great. Okay, so before we get started, please introduce yourself, share with us a bit of your experience in the early childhood education sector.
Okay. I won't call myself a Methuselah in the field yet because, okay, for the introduction, I'm Jennifer Ivhurie. I am married to my loving husband, and we have 4 kids together. And I have been in the EYFS world for over a decade, over 10 years, I must say. I've been working with children within, the ages 2.5 up until 5. So I can say that I have been with children from preschool all the way to reception, which basically is EYFS, the foundation stage, basically. So it's been fantastic working with children. I delved into the EYFS world, and I think I would say out of passion, because my first degree is actually in computer science. Wow. And before now, I never thought I was going to be a teacher. It never occurred to me. But, one way or the other, I found myself in the field and I just got hooked. And it's been love all the way, I must say. And I'm still doing what I love to do. So basically,
that's fantastic. 14 years, you said.
Hey.
Over. That's awesome. That's awesome. I must say, big well done to you. So I'm sure that you live, breathe EYFS right now. Everything EYFS. Fantastic. All right. So today we're talking about the principles of EYFS, and we know that positive relationships is one of the principles of EYFS. So let's ask now, why do you think this is important in EYFS? Why do you think positive relationships is one of the important aspects for us to focus on?
Okay. Building positive relationships, I must say, is the foundation of engaging children and, being able to gain their trust, and being able to teach them. Because if a child comes into an environment that is, would I say in my terms, toxic and unwelcoming, the child might not be able to thrive in such environment, which is the same as adults, when we are working in an environment where, certain policies don't, make sense, certain things, people are unwelcoming, definitely you would not, have a good time there. So the same goes with the children as well. So in order for you to, gain their ears and their love and their trust, you need to create that welcoming environment. You need to, involve them. You need to put them in everything. Let them, be involved in everything. Make it child, centered. So it's not just the teacher to child or teacher to children approach. So they're all involved in their learning. making their environment, it's their environment anyways, infusing play into it, spreading the love, around the classroom. It just gives the children that confidence, basically, to want to thrive and to, blossom, basically. So I'm sure, yeah, which is why it's an important, aspect of the EYFS. It's it's in one of the principles, and I must say you can never, really overemphasize, the parts that, building positive relationships will play in their learning and development, basically.
Fantastic. I love that you said it's their environment. So it's not just about the teacher, it is majorly about the children. So they are basically the reason why the teacher is there. And so we need to form that bond for them to build trust. I love that. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'll ask now, how do you think that strong relationships between practitioners and learners can impact a child's learning and development?
Okay, in the area of communication, I'm gonna give an instance. I remember that at some point in my career, a child came in a bit, quite timid. She came in a bit unsure of certain things around her. And her parents, I think, I had a meeting with them to, basically touch base on the child's background. Apparently the child was coming from a Nigerian school where, they would threaten, where they would, do all manner of things to the child. And then eventually I was able to connect the dots to say, oh, this is why this child is like this. So I had a class meeting with my colleagues and I said to them, what can we do? Because we always involve the other adults in the classroom. I'm not just the only adult there, so everyone has to be on board. So we came up with a lot of strategies to make that child very welcoming and comfortable in our class, just for the child to be able to thrive, basically. And then we said to ourselves, we're going to give this child a nice name, because that's what I do in my class. Every child has a name. I have the one I call Jolly Cakes. I have the one I just, have a way of naming them or renaming them, basically. So because when we start to do that, it kind of gives them that, joy. You see this beautiful smile that comes from them, that, oh, my teacher interest at heart, so it just gives you that joy, basically. So we started off with that, coming in, she'll be a bit timid, and then all that, and everybody just goes, everybody, good morning. We'll call her name. Good morning. I'll name her Joy. That's not her real name. Good morning, Joy Boo Boo. And everybody goes, Joy Boo Boo. And then, you just gave us, that it helps to build a relationship, absolutely, to build that relationship, to make sure she feels safe, secure, and valued, basically. And then from then, she started to open up. And then her communication started to get better. She was able to express herself better. She was able to communicate her emotional needs. Sometimes she would come to say, oh, Miss Jenny, I don't feel this way. I feel sad. And then I go, oh, do you need love? Everybody goes, do you need love? And then we all give, the hugsy bugsies. And then we all, so basically all of those things put together, kind of helps the child, open up and to trust the adults and the peers as well, her peers in class. So a welcoming classroom, a room for feedback as well is very important. So it's not just you doing what you feel you can do as a teacher. You need feedback from the children as well, which is why it's a part of the school's policy, where the management, the school management, at some point, sometimes at the end of the year or at the end of the term, tend to send out surveys to parents. We need to hear from parents. How do you think we have helped the children? And then also, not just from the parents, we listen to the children as well. So we use the feedback to kind of, make things work and, change things around the class, So basically that has worked and it's still working for us.
Fantastic. I love that because I would love to be in your class just to get that sweet name and be welcomed in that wonderful way. You know, everyone would want to come every day. So you're thinking about all the love you're going to get. That is fantastic.
We have to always spread the love. We have to
Right.
always spread the love. And then when they come in, we also have emotional cards,
Okay.
to basically just ask them. We have them in little, circles. So when they come into class, they go to the bag where we have the emotional cards, and then the children go there basically to pick up a card telling us about how they feel. And if a child comes in sad, if the child tells me, Miss Jenny, I feel sad today, we press further. What made you sad? Who made you sad? What do you think should we go for a walk? What do you think? And then you can see they will start to nod, yes, yes, yes. And that kind of helps you build relationship with them, knowing that the teacher is there to listen to them. The teacher is there to make them feel happy. The teacher is there to make them feel valued and respected. So it kind of helps with the whole dynamic of the class. It gives that, that joy. We have like little butterflies in the class where everyone's valued and respected, basically.
Okay, I'm enjoying this conversation and I'm loving
Yeah.
all that you have shared so far. So now I want to ask from the aspect of a leader, because I know that you are a leader. So from the aspect of a leader, you walk into a classroom and then what are the signs that you would see that tells you that the children feel safe and are connected to the adults in that classroom? What are the signs that you're looking out for?
Okay. The signs to be looked out for would be the physical signs, which would be the expression. Because if I walk into a class and I see a child is looking sad, I would like to know. And if there are adults there and are not able to notice physical changes in their emotions, that would be a red flag to me. That's number one. Number two, I walk into a class and a child is not meeting certain expectations or objectives. I'd like to know why. Why do you think, what can we do better to make this child move from point A to point B? Could it be that the child is not connected to you enough? Because I believe that having a positive relationship is basically like the bedrock for learning and engagement. Because if those are the signs I'm going to be looking at, physical and then also in the academics as well. And then also if I notice that the child is usually, left behind, or the child is usually very timid to wanting to do certain things, I will definitely raise my red flag to say, what's happening here? We need to have a meeting. What's going on? Do you have plans? What are you doing already? Do you think this child feels connected to you or with the other pairs in the classroom? What is going on? Is there, a case of neglect, from teachers? Because sometimes teachers can sometimes focus more attention on the children that are high flyers. We've seen a lot of cases like that. And yes, so I will definitely raise my flag to say, let's talk. We need to have a meeting. What can we do? What strategies can we put together to make sure? But the number one on the list would be to create the relationship. Create that relationship. Create the teacher-student bond. Because if you have that bond, nothing can ever break it. And then that trust to say, oh, this child actually trusts me enough to want to teach them, to accept everything being put out. Are they motivated enough? Wow. Sometimes when I look at what do we call them, the sticker chart, and I notice that a child has one or two stickers, I would definitely ask questions. What's going on here? How come? Why do you have two stickers and your friends have 10 stickers or more? I would definitely ask questions. So those are basically the signs I would be looking out for if I walk into any classroom.
Thank you for that. I'm hoping that teachers can also learn from this because some of them don't even realize it. when children are not connected or they don't trust them enough. So I'm hoping that with this, they can also start to look inwards to say, okay, how can I do better to build the bonds? Because like you said, it is the bedrock for learning and development. So now let's take it to parents.
Absolutely.
Now we know that parents can have different relationships with their children at home, but we want to see when the children are in the school. Now, how can educators ensure that they work together with the parents to build that consistent, secure attachments for the children? Now, how can they work together to support the parents in doing this?
Okay, so basically, what I normally do from the start, I get my parents involved. So it's basically, I can't say it's my business alone. It's a business of the child, the parent, and the teachers. So those are the contacts, right? So if there's a misplacement in one of the three that I've mentioned, there's going to be a problem. If there's another displacement, if we have two out of the three, that's a major problem. And then if we lose the child in the process, you know what that is. So all of these three factors play a very important role in child development. So I always have, in the beginning of the year, we have the coffee mornings. It's basically a morning set to, orientate, so to speak, let them understand why they're in school. It's a partnership. It's not just our business, it's everyone's business. So that's like the foundation of involving parents in their learning. And then also, I normally do like I have tasks or projects that I put sometimes bi-weekly or 3 times, or I just try to put like activities that would involve the parents in the children's learning. And then I also ask and seek for evidence as well. So those strategies have really worked, helping them understand that it's not just our deal, it's all of our business is key. That's the first thing to do. That first week of what do we call that week? The week where the children come in. So it's the first time you're meeting them. Like they say, first impression matters. So you should let them understand it's a partnership. It's a partnership. We're all in this together.
Because we all have parents who are doing different things, working in different areas, and some of them just feel like, oh, the school will get it sorted, and they feel they don't have so much work to do, so they don't have the time to form some form of bond with the children. They don't have time to even understand what the children need, and it's just all about the school. So that's why we want to know what is their own role when it comes to positive relationships. We know that there should be positive relationships within the classroom, but then what happens within the home where the parent is not involved in any way? So how would you advise the teacher to deal with that kind of situation when the parents are not available?
Communication.
Okay, please go ahead.
Communication.
Okay.
You send in email, we have a communication book. We have all manner of, ways that we can communicate with the parents. Yes. And then also you can also call in parents for meetings, to say, oh, I would like to meet you. This is what I'd like to discuss. So they're not just waiting for the time when we have PTCs, no. And then also there's also an opportunity for training. An opportunity for training parents as well, because some parents would come and say, oh, what do I do? Of course, they're not in the education field. We come in, we set some trainings aside when we see that there's a need in a particular area and it's becoming a common factor. We call in parents, we send in, information to say, this is what we would like to discuss with the parents. And then we train them on certain things that, we feel would work for the children. So constant communication, that constant reassurance, letting them know that we're professionals and we know what we're doing, and then we need their support. So they're like a support system. They are our own children at school, but also when they're at home, they need to give that support. They need to give that help. And there are a lot of research. We have a lot of research work based on partnerships from home. So before now, I used to send in like creative nuggets to parents. Sometimes I do attach like some what do they call them? Like some research papers or something just to attach to give my information more base, so they understand why we're doing what we're doing. So it's not just us getting, not just us telling them to be involved, but there are a lot of paperwork to back why we're telling them to be involved in their child. So communication, training, constant, just when they come in, sometimes you don't even have to send emails all the time. When they pop in, oh, can I quickly have a word with you? You just chip in one or two things, and then you do your reviews. The children we do reviews every week. We send in some reviews of how the children, behaved during the week, or how the things that they were able to achieve, and the things that they're working on to get better. So basically it still boils down to communication. So you always have to communicate. You always have to communicate.
Okay, so basically educating the parents so that they can make your work easier, ensuring that you're training them on what they need to do to support you while you're working with the children. I think that's a good one. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we want to look at children coming from different backgrounds, having different cultures, different family values, and all. Now, in the process of building positive relationships with the learners, now how can educators ensure that while they are building these relationships, they are forming, they have respect for the children's culture, for the children's background, for their family values, so that while you're trying to do that, you're not going against what the children or what their families believe in.
Okay. So basically, for starters, when I receive the class list, the first thing I always look out for is the nationality, the column that has the nationality there. So what I do is I print out flags. Okay. I have flags. Basically, during our circle time, I get the children very familiar with the flags, and then we turn, the flag, we call it a flag game. And then from there, we start to give the children information about where they come from. It is actually a theme in our school where I work. It's a theme, I think, in term 1, all about me. So they have a good understanding of where they are and where they come from and where they're at the moment. So whenever we're talking about the country, you can almost immediately see the light, all over them, to say, oh, that's where I come from. That's where I come from. And then we have a part, a wall post in class where we put pictures of the children, and then also we put the flags there, just for them to identify with where they come from. And then also we have forums where we celebrate different events. So if we have the Indians, there's a time in our calendar where we celebrate Diwali, and then the rest of the life. So when it's the Chinese New Year, we read a story about the Chinese New Year. We set up, we have like a small table in class where we set up like cultural artifacts and books and everything related to where the child, to let the child feel accepted. This is where I come from, and everybody in my class knows where I come from, and we are celebrated. It makes them feel valued and respected, and it also helps with what's that word? Inclusiveness. Right. Basically, teaching from a very young age. Knowing that we all don't come from the same place, but we're all in the same class at the same time, and we all have to accept ourselves. So in celebrating culture, We put all of these things out. When they're eating a particular food, the other children, "Oh, what are you eating?" And then they go, "Oh, I'm eating roti, I'm eating, what's that, the wrap that the Lebanese eat." So we basically talk through everything. We see every opportunity as a learning, what's that word? As a learning opportunity, basically, to teach and enlighten the children that we have to accept everyone. We're all in the same world. So basically, that's it.
Fantastic. So basically, before they come, get to know them, get to know where they're from, what they like to eat, showcase their flags, so everyone feels loved and represented in the classroom. Now, because we know that we have teachers who might not have this understanding, and they feel like, okay, this is who I am, this is who this child is. It's not what I believe in, and so they feel like it's okay to say out, like, I don't believe in that. That's not what I do, and so we're just trying to educate them so they understand that it doesn't matter where the child is from, as long as that child is in your classroom, you need to accept that child, and you need to make sure that every other person accepts the child. So I love what you have shared about talking about their food, celebrating their festivals. I think that is also fantastic. And yes, inclusion is a big thing.
Before they come in, okay, sorry for cutting you.
No
I just remembered something as well. Before we come into the class, there's usually a form sent home. We call it getting to know you form.
Right.
So that form basically just informs us on everything about the child, their likes, their dislikes, what their family dynamics like, basically all about the children. So we already would have had a meeting, the adults in class, to say, what do we set up? What are this child's interests? What can we do, to make that child involved? How can we engage that child more? If the child loves cars, what can we do in our mathematical development lesson? What can we do to infuse all of their interests into learning? So that also plays a very important role. Knowing your children, knowing them. Yeah.
Amazing. So that information that you get, you use it to prepare for them even before they come in. That is fantastic. Like I said, I would love to be a child in your classroom.
Right.
So now let's talk about positive relationship and social emotional development. Now, do you think there is a link between these two? Do you think positive relationships contribute to social emotional development of children?
Absolutely. Which is what I have. I think I talked about it in the beginning. It has a lot to do with social emotional development. It helps them understand their emotions better. And I gave an instance about the emotional cards. That's my own strategy. That's what we do, and that's what we use. And I feel that it has helped the children understand their emotions better and how to manage their emotions, and manage their own emotions and emotions of other people as well. So it has really helped. I know that, in the beginning, it's usually very difficult, but when you keep up with the routine, when you have the routines, the children tend to, build all of these things. When they keep doing, these things all over again, at some point, it's just going to make sense to them. And then they're going to just, the light bulb will just go up on them and go, oh, this is why I've been doing what I've been doing. It just helps with everything, all encompassing. Emotional development also, the positive relationships, like I mentioned, it helps with emotional development, basically. Because if a child has, all of the positiveness around them, it would definitely help them control themselves. And if everyone is showing them love, if there's a conducive environment where they're able to thrive, they're able to engage, if they're able to learn, they're able to make friends and make connections, managing themselves or themselves and others as well. So it basically, just goes a long way. It goes along with building positive relationships. That's really helped. From my experience, has helped them develop in their, we call it the PSCD area.
Fantastic. So this has a strong connection. And yes, when teachers build positive relationships, there is that impact on their social emotional development. Thank you for that. So let's talk about the challenges now. What do you think are the common challenges that educators might face when it comes to forming bonds with children? Now, in different settings, what do you think are the common
Okay.
challenges and what strategies would you recommend to help them overcome it?
Okay, so basically challenges that some teachers normally face. Yes, first of all, I would say lack of training. Lack of training. If, like the saying goes, you cannot give what you don't have. If a teacher is not, well-rounded, is not knowledgeable about certain things, there will be difficulty, which is why we as educators have to always, always relearn, unlearn old strategies, and then renew yourself, basically. Keep up with the new trends in the EYFS world. Don't stick to the old trends of, oh, this happened 10 years ago, it's still gonna happen. And then also understanding your cohort, understanding your set of children you have. And then also sometimes what causes the difficulty and the challenge would be probably stress or burnout. If you have a large class and you have probably like say 2 teachers with 30 children, how do you think you can build in that classroom? It's not gonna happen. Which is why there's a standardized ratio, and the new EYF, yes, they're very big on staffing right now, and they're very big on having qualified educators, professionals, adults. If you're not knowledgeable about what you're doing as a practitioner, and then also burnout, having a large, class, and then you just have the ratio is not balanced, so you're having to deal with different, needs. You have 30 or 15 children in your what do we call it? The key worker, like you have 15 children. Yeah, the system. You have 15. How are you able to manage 15? It's not possible, So the ratio is 6 to 1. 5 to 1 is not bad, which is why it's good to have the right amount in class so you don't burn yourself out. So it will give you that time to really connect and bond with the children. And then the key worker system. Yes, the key was knowing that you work with a certain group of children. Because even as teachers, you can't really like focus on all of them.
Everybody.
Which is why you strategically train the people that work with you, and then you put them into chunks like groups, and then you're able to manage what you have, basically.
Wow, thank you for that. But while you were speaking, I was just thinking about the teachers who do not have this opportunity to have 6 to 1 ratio and then assign a key person. I have actually interacted with teachers who have said they have 20 children and it's just one adult. They have 25 and it's just one adult. And there's really nothing they can do about it because as much as they complain, the school is just not ready to get someone else. So but I'm just thinking.
I wouldn't refer to that as an EYFS setting. It's not an EYFS.
Definitely not.
Yes, it is definitely not, because how would you be able to do that? You will burn yourself out as a teacher, because while you're filling other people's buckets, other children's bucket, how are you filling your own emotional bank account? How? How? Because you have to be a happy teacher to have happy children. So if you have 20 children in your class and you're managing 17 out of the 20, I'm not sure. That's not a good ratio. It's a terrible one. It will work.
Okay, now we're hoping that some school leaders will see this and then they would also learn from it and make some changes in their setting. Whether they're using EYFS or Montessori, it is really not healthy for the adults to have that number and be the only person in the class. But we do know that there are some settings where this is what is obtainable. We're hoping that it can learn from this. Because now you've shared with us that the happy teacher is the one who is able to have and keep happy children. So yes, we really hope that they would learn and make some changes. All right, so let's talk about positive relationships and classroom management. Now, do you think that positive relationships can help in managing classroom behavior and promoting positive learning environment?
Oh, yes. Building positive relationships with your child or with children in your class will definitely give room for children to want to listen to you because they know that they have an understanding. So first of all, like I mentioned before, the glitch, I said that building the relationships would make them want to trust you better. They would listen to you more because they know that you have expectations and you have certain rules that you and the other children and everybody are keeping by. And having that understanding immediately just helps them to regulate, certain behaviors that are not accepted in class. So when it comes to the area of role play, which you have infused in your learning during storytelling times, during PSCD lessons, they tend to want to keep to all of those things because they know that they have an understanding. They understand the teacher that this is what the teacher, this is what the teacher would do if they don't keep to their own part of the deal. So basically, which is why we have certain rules in class where we have the rules that we make up, not just the teacher making up the rules. They are also involved with, making the rules of the class as well. So which is what I said, whatever you want to happen in your class, you start it first week. If you do not start it the first week, I'm sorry, it might be a bit difficult, to keep up with their excesses in the end. So having that very, good on the start, letting them take charge of their learning, letting them take charge of their own rules. Let us have an understanding. I make them, thumbprint on the rules that they have made for themselves. So you refer to the rules to say, but we have an understanding. This is what you said you won't do. Why are you doing it? So most of the time, they always just stay mute because they know that they were part of the they made the rules themselves and they have to keep to their own, practices. Basically. So that's what has been working for me. The beginning of the year, the school year, make all of these things, set your class right, and then you'd have fun all the way at the end of the day.
I love that. I love that. So when there's that relationship, they are respectful towards you, they trust you more, and they want to ensure that they are on their good behavior also because you set the rules to get that. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know that you're also a safeguarding lead. So now I want to come to a bit of safeguarding. So how do you think, or what are the strategies you would recommend for forming relationships with children who might have experienced trauma or have some form of insecure attachments at home? Now, how would you recommend a teacher to handle such relationships in the classroom?
So basically, it's just one word: love. Love them like your own. Most of the time I call them my children. So sometimes when my colleagues are like, "Oh, your children," I'm like, "Oh, do you mean the children in my class, my biological children?" Because I call them my own. Show them all the love. Love just heals everything. I would say, if a child has trauma, build that bond with that child. Show love. Be gentle. Be calm. Be understanding as a teacher. You do not, put your emotions out immediately first. Understand the child. Put yourself in their place, which is what a lot of teachers don't really do, and they need to understand attachments as well. And there's this course that I'm doing at the moment, and it kind of just gave me a deeper knowledge into understanding relationships, basically, which goes back to the other question you asked about, the things to look out for or the things to do, how to advise early years practitioners. You need to educate yourself. Do not leave yourself at the level that you have been and feel that, oh, I have arrived. No, I've been doing this for quite a number of years. And then recently, I just, put myself in. I said, okay, you know what? You need to do more. You need to learn more. And then I started to read a lot of, research work. I started to read a lot of research papers based on attachments and understanding attachments. Some children would come to school feeling unsafe, probably because their mom just had a little baby or something, and then they feel, just the little things. Children can sometimes be very, very funny. Then they're acting funny, and you're trying to wrap your head around why they're acting the way they are. And then you'll just find out that, probably, maybe the child's parents are divorced, or they just had a baby, and then all the attention has been shifted to the baby. And then so when they come to school, just give them all the love that they desire, which is why I said partnership as well with parents. You need to know all of this information. Because if you do not know all of this background information about the child, how would you be able to understand what the child is doing? Which is why parents should be involved. It's a partnership, just like I said before. It's a partnership. So give all the love you can, all the love. Love can never be too much. You keep giving all the love that you can to the child. So basically yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ms. Jenny. One thing I would say is you have opened our eyes up to why the positive relationships is one of the principles of EYFS. Because I know we have people who might not even know the principles of EYFS, or who might know that positive relationship is one of it, but they don't really understand in details what it means. Thank you so much. Now we know that it's not just about the child and the parent. You're building that relationship even in the classroom. You're encouraging the parents to also play their part, and you are also working with all the other children in the classroom to show love to every member of the classroom. Thank you so much. This is insightful. So I would say that you've mentioned training, you've mentioned constant retraining, but I just don't know, are there other resources that you can recommend to practitioners who are looking to improve their ability to build strong bonds with children?
Okay, I would like to recommend that they do courses or trainings in child development. So they are the development of children from conception all the way to when they're 5. It gives you a broader view into the EYFS world and child development, basically. So I'd recommend child development and attachment training, basically.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for these recommendations. Thank you for all the nuggets that you have shared. It has been a wonderful time with you, Ms. Jenny. So let's just come to the end. So let's just round up by asking if you have one key piece of advice that you want to give to early years practitioners on fostering positive relationships. What would that advice be?
Okay. So for yourself, I would like to say, because it has to start with you. Right. You're the caregiver, right? Okay. Show yourself love so you can give love. Show yourself love, and in showing yourself love, that would be what you ingest, in form of not just the food part. Yeah, part of it, be healthy, stay healthy, so you can be strong enough.
I love that. Stay healthy.
To help the children when you get there. Showing yourself love, it could be in the form of self-care, because you have to really take care of yourself as a teacher. Because like I said before, a happy teacher makes happy children. Take care of yourself. Make sure your emotional bank account is full. And then when you get to class, you're able to pour into the little buckets. Pour in, and then you just basically make the world a better place,
Fantastic. I love that emotional bank account. So you're saving it up. You're saving it up to give it back to your children. That is fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Jenny. It has been a wonderful time with you. Thank you for sharing all of these information. I'm sure that there are a number of teachers who would watch this and learn a great deal from you. So thank you so much. We've come to the end of this session. So have a wonderful, wonderful day.